Okay, yes, you probably heard the announcement. We are now recording officially our book launch of A Man Called Horse with our special guest. Today is the actual publication date of A Man Called Horse, and we are honored to have the distinguished author to join us, Miss Gwinnett Tilly Turner. And for those of you who may have just joined, I'm just going to, my name is Nzinga. I'm the owner of Afriware Books Company. We have been in business 28 years, amazingly, doesn't feel like it, but we're just happy to have you here. And I wanted to do a little housekeeping protocol, kind of technical details to get that out of the way. Per the book publisher's request, everyone is now muted and you're unable to unmute. Is that too many uns? You are not able to unmute yourselves. We would like all of your, we invite your questions and comments, but we just ask that you share them through the chat, and then I will go through them and share them with Gwinnett. That's number one. Also, this is being recorded, so thankfully later, those who weren't able to join us will be able to access it. The goal is going to be to upload it to YouTube. And the format will be after the introduction of Miss Gwinnett Tilly Turner. We're going to have a few pre-planned questions between she and I. And then about halfway through, I'm going to pause halfway through the hour to pause for your chat questions. So let's see, I'm just checking the chat now. Yes, Gwinnett, people are very excited to be here. So I'm going to, no specific question. Any other specific questions about the formats or how things are going to go? I'm just going to pause for that a moment. And so right around, we're going to end right around 5 o'clock. Okay. So with no further questions, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our distinguished guest. And first of all, I'm just so happy that I know Gwinnett personally. Years and years and years ago, we met, and she has participated as an author, as a participant in our Kwanzaa program at Afriware Books Company. And she is such an accomplished woman. She sent me a bio that was 7 pages long. And so I'm not going to read all of it, okay? In fact, what I can do when we upload later, I could, oh, somebody's trying to get in. I can make sure that I make it available in the description section of the YouTube video. So here are a few highlights. Gwinnett Tilly Turner is an author, historian, and educator. The Underground Railroad has been her focus of much of her historical research, particularly in Illinois, elsewhere in the Midwest, and in her childhood home of St. Augustine, Florida. Okay, she has testified before a subcommittee of the US Senate and House and the Illinois Senate in support of Underground Railroad legislation, and took one of the National Park Service historians on a tour of the Underground Railroad sites. She has written extensively. Some of her other books are The Underground Railroad in Illinois, The Underground Railroad in DuPage County, Surprise for Mrs. Burns, Take a Walk in Their Shoes, Follow in Their Footsteps, Running for Our Lives, Lewis Howard Latimer, Make and Keep Family Memories, and An Apple for Harriet. And many of those are also available through Afriware Books. Ms. Tilly Turner has been a consultant on many Underground Railroad projects and including special programming at the Grow Mill Museum, the Wheaton History Center, the Napier Settlement, and Blackberry Farm. And the list is quite extensive. She has spoken for and conducted Underground Railroad workshops at the Naperville African American Heritage Festival, Organization of American Historians, Illinois State Historical Society, and that goes on and on as well. And she has been a consultant for over 30 years, so you can imagine the accolades that she has accumulated over time. And so this just makes it even more of a pleasure and an honor to be with you, Lynette. Thank you.
Thank you
so much. And I want you to also feel free to, if I didn't select the specific biographical items that you would have preferred, feel free to share them during our Q&A section. Okay, so we're going to start off with a brief synopsis of the book. Make sure, oh, a couple people have to make sure I'm watching to let everyone in. Let's start off with a brief synopsis of the book, Lynette, if you would.
Well, this is the story of a remarkable man who accomplished the impossible against all odds. John Horse was a Black Seminole chief, negotiator, interpreter, who was born in Florida. He fought in the Second Seminole War, found Indian territory untenable, and led his people to freedom in Mexico. So that pretty much summarizes it, and you have to read the book to find out the details.
You gotta read the book, and it was, okay, here is the book, just so everyone is seeing it. I mean, okay, I have the wrong, there we go. Do you see all these dog-eared pages? I've learned so much from this book. My main takeaway was how she explained the difference between slavery as practiced by Native Americans versus Europeans. I had not even considered that there might be a difference. And it dawned on me that Africans also practiced a different form of slavery from the European. And so when people say, well, Africans sold themselves into slavery, well, they didn't understand enslavement the same way that the European had ended up practicing it. And this distinction is so important, and it's not one that I've seen mentioned often at all in history books. So I want to just start by thanking you for the meticulousness that you used in your research and in presenting this important material. Okay, so our first question is, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, when I was 10 years old, our family moved to Florida, where my father became president of small, very poor Baptist college. And so during the day, he'd walk around in a suit and, be the administrator of play that role or serve that role as the college administrator. But evenings, he would have to be fundraiser, and he would drive 40 or 50 miles from our home to churches where he appealed for support for the school, to pay the teachers and buy the books. And so my mother knew that he had done a day's work before he left home. And she also knew that Florida had very poorly lit 2-lane highways, and they had open stock cattle where cattle could just, stroll across the street at any hour of the night or day. And so those roads were especially dangerous. And Mama was afraid that Daddy would fall asleep at the wheel. So she came up with a solution. And it was to send me along with Daddy, feeling that a talkative child would, distract, or not distract, but help Daddy stay awake. And I love these moments. These were some of the high points of my childhood, just to have this time all alone, all to myself, have my dad all to myself, and have his full attention, and have him tell me family stories, and also stories of the contributions of Black people, such as Garrett A. Morgan's invention of the stoplight, which wasn't in any of the books that I was reading in school. And so he'd tell these stories, but he'd end everyone the same way. He'd say, when you grow up, you need to write this down. So I just grew up thinking I had an assignment to, grow up and write these things down, and been trying to do that ever since.
Wow. That is a beautiful story to share about your relationship with your father and how he inspired you. Thank you. Our next question is, okay, I have to show and tell here. The decorations and the design of the book, okay, it's not just the cover. I'm hoping that you'll be able to see every single page has color designs on the edges, and then there are spears or arrows in the corners. I mean, it's just a beautifully laid out book. Could you talk about the design and decoration of the book?
Would you like, I tell you, I got ahead of myself. If I may just go back to finish answering the last question before we go on to the next. Sure. I was an adult when I learned that we had lived about 3 miles from Fort Mose, the first officially sanctioned settlement in colonial America. And I just really felt shortchanged to have gone to school in St. Augustine and never to have heard of this really significant chapter in American history. And so I was eager to, to learn more and also to write and share the information. And so I wrote the book about Fort Mose, and you could go to my website, which is www.ugrrillinoisandbeyond.com. And also you could go to the National Park Service's virtual story time. I think, Nzinga, I think you have that link that you could also send at the with the other information that you're going to send out after the interview. Yeah. But I wanted to go now back to your question about the design. Really, one of the person who's most responsible for the very beautiful design is the person who is in attendance at this launch party. His name is Chief Tommy Perryman. He became the chief after the Chief William Dub Warrior, who was a descendant of John Horse's, passed away. And so it is Tommy who really had so much to do with suggesting the Seminole colors be used, and also the cross arrows. And then the Abrams designer just did a beautiful job putting it all together. And I love the results.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think young people would really appreciate this, the engagement that it solicits with the pictures, the maps, and it's just, I mean, wow, if I had a book like this in school, who knows where I would be at this time. Make sure I'm inviting everybody in. Okay, our next question is the title of the book. How was that?
Well, when I wrote for it, Mosaic, Professor Joseph Apollo was a most knowledgeable resource person whom I consulted. And after that book was published, Professor Apollo suggested that I write about John Horse. And of course, I'd never heard of John Horse before. And yet I learned that he had begun his amazing journey not far from St. Augustine. And so again, it was a St. Augustine area related story that I had missed learning about when I was in school there. And so intrigued, I began conducting research about a man named Horse. And it was years later that I learned that in the 1970s, there had been a movie with the same name, which told a very different story. So I felt flattered, Nzinga, when in your blog you said that the movie got it wrong and that I got it right. Thank you.
Oh gosh, I don't know how many, if you could, those of you who may remember that movie, you could indicate, but when I was researching and preparing for this Zoom call, I had to at least look at the trailer for the movie and some scenes from the movie, and it was just so disparaging against Native Americans. And you know, your book could be nothing further. It's a wonderful, complete opposite depiction of Native Americans. A very honorable and detailed. It really puts it's a humane look at Native Americans and the battles that were fought. I don't know why I connected so emotionally with it. I just felt like when the battles were lost and the treaties were broken, it was just so sad. You know, it just really touched me in an interesting way I hadn't expected. So I don't think I told you that before, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Okay, we're going to make sure everybody's in the room. We're going to go now. The next one is, how did you meet? Okay, yes. How did you meet members of the family of John Horse?
Well, in 2012, the National Park Service, National Underground Railroad Network to Freedom held a major conference in St. Augustine. And they presented me with their Wilbur H. Siebert Award for outstanding work in the field of the Underground Railroad, which really made me feel like a big girl. And I went to the conference and enjoyed it very much. And but in addition to the thrill of receiving this honor, I had the rare and wonderful opportunity to meet John Horse's descendant, Dub Warrior, who loved and graciously shared the history with me. And this book was ready to go to press shortly before his death in November of 2020. And it was my joy to send him an electronic copy. He was a wonderful, wonderful man.
Oh, that's wonderful that you were able to share that with him. Right. Okay, our next question. Oh, we're making really good time. Could you talk about what age group do you think is best for the book?
Well, having grown up unaware of the history that unfolded just miles from my home, I am delighted that young readers can now access such little known stories as that of John Horse and Fort Mose. Also, having or also knowing there's no age limit to the fact that inquiring minds want to know. Um, I know that readers of all ages will welcome the opportunity to learn of such previously little known stories. So I'd say any age reader.
Oh, I would totally agree. Totally agree with that. Okay, I am going to now, and thank you all so much for bearing with me, because while I have participated on many a Zoom call over the pandemic, I have not hosted many. I think this is my second that I've actually hosted. So there's so many, little things I want to make sure that I'm doing throughout. But at this time, I want to pause and see if anyone has any questions and just invite people to ask questions of either of the author and her personal experience, or directly related to the book, or however you want to share with us. Maybe some of you saw that movie that we mentioned. I wanted to just invite you to put your questions in the chat, and I'm going to scroll up in case I missed one. Let's see here. And while I'm sort of doing a delay move here, I'm trying to stall just until I can see some questions. I want to give a shout out to Courtney Tedrick. I'm not sure if she has joined us yet, but she also was very helpful in acclimating me to the Zoom protocols. Okay, so there is one, someone named Elaine is very excited about your success, Lynette, and you're a gift, she says, in so many ways. She's grateful. She's among those to call you a dear friend. And
thank you. Well, the feeling is mutual. Thanks, Elaine.
And Sherry Ann sends her congrats.
Well, thank you very much, Sherry Ann.
From Cyril and Sherry Ann.
Thank you, Cyril.
And congrats.
I mean, we have a special relationship. He's my son.
Oh, okay. Wonderful, wonderful. Congrats to a dear friend on the releasing of this magnificent new work. Oh, I couldn't agree more. I am so glad that I was given the opportunity to help out both the late Chief William Dub Warrior, Chief Perryman. This is from
well, thank you. Thank you, Chief Perryman, and thank you for your contribution in making the book so beautiful.
Yes. Okay. Okay, what is going on with my scrolling bar here? There we go. Thanks for being invited, Juanita. And I did share the her Underground Railroad and Beyond link, which is Gwynette's direct website, UGRR and the word and beyond.com.
That would show some of the other titles, both the Underground Railroad themed books and also the collected biographies and skits that I did early on.
Yes. How many total is it?
I guess about a dozen.
Oh my goodness. Your father's smiling broadly.
Thank you.
Oh, and I want to make sure that people know that, oh, that's what I was going to put in the chat. I want to put a link to purchase the book in the chat, so that if you want an autographed copy, there, Glenette and I are going to make arrangements after the 30th. So we're giving people about a little bit over 1 week to purchase. And at the end of that period, I'm going to meet up with Glenette and she's going to sign everyone's book. So I will put that in the chat after I get a moment to at least get one question going, and then I'll search for it. Okay, here's a question. Yes, here's a question. When you were researching and writing the book, did you feel any pressure to make John Horse a purely heroic figure? And if so, how did you deal with it?
No, I had a wonderful editor, Howard Reeves, and he is someone that, that really has such an integrity as he guides a writer, that really he didn't give pressure to make him a heroic figure. I think what he wanted was an authentic book, and I was just really very pleased to be able to include the things that didn't go right for John Horse as well as the things that did. I just think that's real life for everybody, and and really the true story, the truth telling of the story.
Absolutely. Okay, I have found, thank you. I've found the link. If you are interested in purchasing a copy to be autographed on or before the 30th of the month. Are there any more questions? I want to just make sure I'm inviting everyone to ask questions. I don't know if I should ask them a question.
I'm just delighted to see all the names I recognize and the people who've participated, and just so appreciate your attending the birthing of my new baby.
And isn't that how it feels? So that's a good question. How long did you spend writing this particular book, and was it the average time you've spent when compared to other books?
It was quite a few years. I would say at least 8 years, really over the span of time from the beginning to do the research, and then meeting and interviewing Dove, and being able to have the privilege to go to Del Rio, which is, as you know, currently in the national news, Texas, to meet him and to engage, to sit in on an interview that Miss Elaine Nichols from the National Museum of African American History and Culture conducted with Chief Warrior and his wife.
Okay. And is the 8-year period, would you say that was the average time you've spent on other books?
I don't know. I have spent a long time. You know how if you're writing something, how you are doing research, and then you're thinking about it in the shower, and you're thinking about it as you drive along, and as you hear the bits of news, you think about what current things have applications where there's similarities and differences from the what's going on now and what went on historically. So I really do tend to spend a long time just kind of marinating as well as doing the research on a book.
And I'm still checking for questions, so I guess I'm the lucky questioner. I always have questions. How has technology impacted the way you write? Oh my gosh, maybe myself and the next questioner are on the same wavelength. The next question is very closely related. She says, or he says, do you still write on your typewriter? Do you still use it?
Not on the typewriter, but on the computer. But one of the things that was really very helpful, and I would refer everyone to the website, johnhorse.com, that a person had done extensive, the person who developed that had done extensive research on John Horse. And there were other things about the technology, just like the miracle of being able to, have all of us on this call, have really influenced not only the writing, but really just, the whole package or the whole, all the, multiple aspects of publishing. But you have to also be very careful to check your sources and all. You certainly can't just write a book, based on what's online. You really have to be very thorough and check and cross-check to make sure you're accurate.
Okay, now how about definitely fleshing that out even more? How you go about researching offline? How does that look?
Well, I found the Wheaton Public Library and the Glen Ellen Library. I live right on the line between the two towns, and both libraries have just been wonderful. Also, I really give so much credit to Day Johnson from the National Network to Freedom, because she told me about resources that I had not known of or been able to find on my own. And that really introduced me to, a number of writers and documents that, were really very, very helpful. And then there are a number of very excellent books that really think you'll find in the bibliography that, that there are a number of books that are very helpful. And so it's a combination of those things. And then really being able to, to meet people who like Dub, who really, knew and shared the stories.
I was just trying to find your bibliography, and yes, I see 3 pages of resources here. Would you say that what percentage of the sources were found online versus in the library? Oh, here's another.
Oh, the larger number were in libraries. I really one of the sources that was very helpful, and one of the people that I met at that conference in St. Augustine was William Lorenz Katz, who had written the book called Black Indians.
Yes.
And has written other books too. Our family had homesteaded in Nebraska, and he written about homesteaders or Blacks who had settled in the West, and a number of other topics. So I was familiar with his other work before meeting him, and was really just delighted. But I think really I have more confidence in the printed word by authors that I respect, rather than things that I find online.
Oh, okay, interesting. Would you say this is one of the first books on John Horse that is specifically targeted to young people, or?
I would think so. There is another book when we went to visit Dub that he had on his coffee table that was titled John Horse, and it was also a very good book. A dear friend of mine, Darwin Walton, really felt that book was also very good.
Excellent, excellent. We do have a question online. How did Dub get his name?
He said that his brother used to call him either Dub or something so similar that he felt that that was how he had gotten his name. I asked that same question, and that was his answer.
Okay. Let's see. If there's
I
any-
did want to add that at the end of the book, there's a section called More About the Story that I particularly enjoyed writing. And it really about some of the things that were of interest, but really didn't fit directly into the John Horse story, but related topics. For example, this is the picture of Joanna July, who was a horse tamer for the Scouts, and she had a unique way of training horses and was very, very respected and relied upon. Which is kind of a different career for a woman of that time. And so those were just things that caught that piqued my interest, and really didn't tie in directly with the John Horse story, but I just was so pleased the editor agreed to add more about the story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. I was hoping you would say some more about this picture. Can you talk about this picture here?
Oh, the Scouts.
Yes.
Well, after the period when the John Horse had led his people to Mexico, after 20 years, the United States Army, which the Seminoles had fought, and earned the respect of the Army. The United States Army wanted to help settle Texas, and or to make the border safe for settlement in Texas. And so they asked the people who had gone with John Horse to Mexico to return and to help defend the Texas border. And a unit called the Negro Seminole Indian Scouts was formed. And these men were relentless and successful, and just creative, and really accomplished the impossible in battles, and were just just so notable and respected as warriors. And so that's what that picture is about.
Hopefully that piqued our participants' interest, just seeing that picture alone. We do have a question online. We have a couple questions. Okay, number one, what did you leave out of the book that you think would be interesting? Maybe something for another book, part two.
Well, I don't know. I just so enjoyed the editing process. The manuscript that I sent in originally was much longer. It would be a book this thick, as opposed to the book of the thickness that was published. But I just really enjoyed working with the editors, and and really just distilling the essence of the story. So I think we were able to capture it and keep it, but it was just a most interesting learning process for me, and fun to participate in process for me.
You're bringing up such a good point for new authors who may be considering writing their own books, the importance of having a new set of eyes to look at their work.
There are things that you can't see, you're too close to a work to see for yourself, but someone who takes an interest in the work and in the subject, can say, well, how did you get from point A to point C? You really need to explain it. And then when they say that, then you think, oh, of course, you really can go back and really improve your own writing.
Absolutely. We have more of a comment with feel free to answer the question. I think it's a rhetorical question. Glenette, you are such a jewel in our community. Thank you.
Excuse me, would you say that again?
Glenette, you are such a jewel in our community. Thank you for highlighting our people's stories. We need to tell our own stories with true passion they deserve. If we don't do it, who will?
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, thank you so much. What is it? If not now, when? If not me, who?
Right. Exactly. And in your case, in a specific assignment by your father. Okay, I'm going to make sure that people feel comfortable sharing questions and or comments before we close this out. Hopefully everyone is inspired to read this book. I mean, a book like this I went to Chicago Public Schools. This would have captured my curiosity in a way that I wouldn't have hated history. I mean, I hated history class. And, but if I saw a cultural reflection of myself in the books, that would have captured my interest and attention and in such a unique way, and it concerns me, of course, that there seems to be a push to ban books that talk about these
missing pages of history.
Yes, this is real history, but it's sensitive to some, I guess. But it's an inclusive history.
And I think it's something that appeals to boys and girls. I think some of the children's books tend to have greater appeal to girls, but I really just think that this is a story that a young man who might not think he was particularly interested in history or in reading or in school would find to be very appealing.
Yes, and inspiring, because so often in starting history with the enslavement period, you would naturally wonder, well, what else were we? What else did we do? Did we win any? Did we resist enslavement? These stories are extremely important in fleshing out our humanity and inspiring us as well, because we did not lay down and die. We did not just passively agree to the mistreatment and hostilities that were raised against us. So yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I'm a friend. I'm a supporter of books like this that help to put all the pieces together, especially as it relates to the victories that we had in the midst of a very, hostile time in this country's history. So that was another thank you. Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions at this time. I just want to make sure everyone understands that we're going to make this discussion available. My goal is YouTube within a week, so it can be shared and so that people will still have an opportunity to see it and consider purchasing the book with an autograph. The link to the book I did put in the chat, and we also have a link to Gwinnette's website as well for her complete bibliography, all of the books she has written. And let's see what else is here. Oh, and Afriware Books is going to continue to have more Zoom author virtual signings of this type. So if you're interested in staying connected with us, there's also a link, a very long link to join our email list. And we send out email about once or twice every month. And of course, you can find us on all the social media. And most recently, TikTok, I've become obsessed with, I must admit. So there's plenty of TikTok videos as well. Okay, are there any other, I'm going back down to the end of the chat list. Any other questions? Do people feel? There are questions, it says. There are questions. Maybe I'm not seeing them. Yeah, I asked all of the questions to this point. Maybe you can retype the question if you don't think I have asked it. If you would please retype your question, because I think I've gone through all the ones in the chat so far. And by the way, when you're sending your message, there is a little down arrow that you can press to make sure that it's sent to everyone, or you can send it just to me directly. Yeah, I don't see any additional questions. I'm going to maximize the screen just in case I'm overlooking something. We put the links and everything are in the chat. Okay. I don't see any other questions. And no one has resent any questions. So again, let me congratulate. Oh, there is one new question here. I do see someone. Oh, okay. Oh, this is great. Have you begun writing your next book, Gwinnette?
Yes, I have. My first interest, or the thing that got me interested in the Underground Railroad initially, was an account of Harriet Tubman. And I have a unwritten and Harriet Tubman story that is in the works.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
it's forthcoming.
And let me just mention, those of you who haven't visited Maywood or Afriware Books, to invite you out, because just 5 minutes from the store is an Underground Railroad site.
In Maywood, Illinois.
Yes, and
Yes.
you were a part of the research, is that correct? And uncovering that site.
Yes, it was wonderful. And to have lived in Maywood, it just really gave me particular pride.
Oh, I didn't realize you used to live here. Oh my goodness.
It was, and it's at the confluence of a river, a train line, and the confluence of highways that used to lead to Chicago. And it's a very significant location.
And right now it's on the grounds of a McDonald's.
Yes, well, what happened was that when McDonald's realized that on that footprint there had been this Underground Railroad stopping place, they asked the young Black architect named Michael Rogers to design that site. So he just did wonderful symbolic things, railroad track and a bell and a lantern. So it's just really a very special place. And it's close enough that people in this area can visit.
Absolutely, and just another reason, here's somebody entering. Another great reason to visit Maywood. It's also the hometown of Fred Hampton.
Yes.
The chairman of the Black Panther Party. So Maywood
and there's the West Towns Museum there.
Yes, on Fifth Avenue. Right across from, somebody's calling, right across from the Fred Hampton sculpture, which is in the Veterans Park.
I haven't seen that.
Oh my goodness, it is spectacular, spectacular. Yeah, more reasons to come to Maywood, everyone, come to Maywood. Okay, in fact, I will give a little plug. I did write a blog on Black travel to Maywood that does highlight these historic points that we just mentioned. And it's right off of afriwarebooks.com, and there's a link at the top that will direct you to the blog. I can put that down here in the chat also. Okay, I haven't seen any more questions, but I'm really personally happy to find out that you're writing your next one.
Thank you. I'm pleased it got approved.
Is it the same publisher?
It is, yes.
Oh, okay, very good, very good. And also for young people, or?
Yes, it'd probably be a picture book.
Excellent.
Kind of like an apple for Harriet Tubman.
Oh, okay, very good. Well, I want to thank everyone so much for joining. It's 22 people, I think I saw it at the height of this meeting, and we know you could be anywhere on a Tuesday at this time, but that you chose to share with us on this special publication date of A Man Called Horace. We so appreciate you. And, of course, this is great for authors to understand, to see, your presence in support as well. I think I want to just use this gallery view. There we go. So we can see how many people are here at this time. This is wonderful. So wonderful. Thank you, everyone. On camera and off, we appreciate you. Is there anything else? Any other questions anyone else has? Again, thank you for bearing with us with this unique format of allowing questions through the chat only. Again, we just want to make sure that all the questions are respectful, and that's been the recommended way to ensure that, and I think it worked very well. Glenette, would you like to make any? I'm going to put you back here in the speaker view. Did you have any closing remarks? Oh, we do have a closing congratulations and looking forward to reading your book.
Thank you. Well, I just want to thank everyone. I agree with Mazinga that on a Tuesday afternoon, there are many other things that you could have been doing. And as you see, this is our first time to do this. And so we don't have the slitness of television production, but we just genuinely appreciate you sharing this time with us. Thank you.
Indeed. Indeed, we do. We do appreciate you. Okay, everyone, thanks again. And I hope you sign up to the email list. Stay tuned. We're going to do some more of these in October. All right, everyone, have a great night. Stay safe and stay healthy. Keep your mask on. Yeah, mask on. Okay, bye-bye. Thanks so much.